Hi. I think sketching animals can be a little daunting. Sometimes we can feel like we have to draw them, and that's a fairly different process than sketching them. Our sketches can be informed by great drawing techniques, and the more you know about drawing, the better sketcher you'll be. But you definitely don't have to wait until you've mastered drawing animals to get to enjoy sketching them. So I'm going to just show you some tips that I use to sketch animals without being a person that draws them. Okay, so I've got a springbok here, which is a South African animal, and I'm going to sketch it from a photograph just to illustrate the points that I'm trying to make. So the first thing is I'm going to look at the whole shape of the animal. So even on this photograph, I can outline that. First, I'm going to be looking at just the whole animal. What does the whole thing look like? What's the shape? What are the contours of the whole creature? And there's an animal standing behind it, another springbok. So I need to be careful that I don't, include those things like that, right? And some parts of the anatomy that I don't think I necessarily want in my sketch, I can just leave out. So I'm going to just grab the whole shape of it. And the tail, I'm going to kind of just indicate. And so my first step could be just to see that whole shape and put that whole shape down on my page. But it can be kind of hard to do that in like one line, and you can get sort of lost. So instead, I can look at breaking it down into smaller shapes. Like this is the head shape. Forget about all the details on the horns and the neat striping in the ears, but I can more look at the whole head shape. That's this. And maybe I want to look at some leg shapes like this and like this. And I can even see these two legs that are adjacent to each other as one shape. Right? And even the changes in the fur coloring can be a shape for me to work with in my sketches, as opposed to approaching something like this and saying, oh my gosh, how am I going to show that fur? If we start with all the little details and just get sweaty and discouraged, we'll never even sketch the thing. And that's ultimately what we want, is to like have the fun of sketching the thing in our sketchbook, not drawing it, sketching it. So we have to have approachable ways to sketch it. Okay, so looking for those big shapes is a really approachable way to kind of flatten an animal. It's flattened on my photograph, but even to flatten animals that you see in real life, see their shapes and then see them as a collection of shapes that you can put down on paper to create the sketch. So I'm going to try it now. Okay. And sketch animals aren't things that I usually sketch, but I'm going to give it a go. It's a little nerve-wracking to do it on camera. Let's see. So I'm going to start. I'm just going to like see the face. And I haven't even sketched this like off camera, so I'm a little bit, I think maybe I should have. But I'm going to remind myself that what do I love about sketching? Well, I love that it's relaxing. I love that it just makes me happy. There's kind of a face. I'm going to go with it. I love to push color around and feel the way a marker moves across a page. So now I'm going to look and see, all right, this is where the neck comes into the face, right around here. And I'm going to follow this curve, and I'm going to kind of sort of try to sketch just this back arc first. I could see that the kind of furthest most point on the back sort of lines up with that divot that dip there. So I'm going to stop here and say, okay, this is like my tail. And the leg curves in. So I'm going to curve in. And then the leg curves out and goes past that tail a little bit. And I'm going to do the same. These are kind of like, I would think of them as sort of like the knees of the animal. And I'm going to pull down. I'm noticing that this part of the leg is longer than this part. So I need this line to be longer. And then the feet, I can't really see them very well. And I'm okay with that. That means I don't have to like get into the nitty gritty of them. I can have choices. I can either come up and kind of finish this line here. I think I'm going to do that. Goes not quite halfway up the body. And then I'm going to come down and I'm going to grab the stomach. And I'm looking to where the next leg begins. Maybe sort of on like the shoulders of the springbok. Now I'm going to look for where this foot lines up with this foot, and this foot is actually a little higher because it's walking. So I'm going to make mine a little higher. And the neck comes back kind of into the chin. So I've got a little bit of like an outline of a springbok. And now I can add this extra leg here, and it's above kind of what I was calling the knee is where we first see it. And it comes down and it's almost even with this other leg. It's got a little bit of a shape there. And it intersects back here. Same thing with this leg in the back. Comes down. All right. So now I've got kind of a basic shape of it, and you'll see I can just start adding some darker values, and that's going to like add a lot to it. If you have a sketch like this and you feel sad about it because you think it doesn't look great, I'm going to add this shape of a nose here. Don't despair. Like, always add color to your sketches because that just helps them so much. I'm looking for that darkness. It just helps so much. Now I can add sort of some details around these horns, are kind of neat. I never leave pages. It's very rare actually that I have pages in my sketchbook that have no paint on them because I think the color is so much fun and I want to have the fun of adding the color. So now as I'm looking at it, I can look for more shapes. There's a shape in here. And that's sort of like the middle of that ear, the inner part of the ear, right? And it's here too. There's a shape here too. That's kind of like this type of shape, right? And so I'm going to add that here. That's the inner part of that ear. Okay. And now I'm going to just have some fun adding some paint. And I'm really going to just add some grays. I'm going to add like a shadowy color just to put some darker values in. So I'm just going to use a mix of a blue, yellow, and red watercolor, which makes up a nice gray. And I can use that to just add some darkness where I see it. And even that, without any color, will give my animal some life. So this is just a blue, a red, and a yellow, which makes up a nice shadowy color. There's a lot of blue and yellow in this one, and I like to use my transparent watercolors for this so that I can keep this kind of shadow color laying around in my studio, and I don't have to mix it up every time. I can have it in this bigger bowl. And if I use transparent colors, then I know that I can layer them up on my sketches and they won't hide what's beneath. Right? They won't have like some opacity to block out the colors that are beneath. So I'm going to just add the darkness where I see it. including some of these things that are more like facial and fur features. So a little bit of darkness under here. Some here, there's some here. Definitely some arcing here, this dark part of the fur. Definitely some here under the belly. And on this back leg. And here on this back leg. And this leg is all kind of jacked up. It's like too thick. It doesn't look delicate. I really did this springbok wrong here with this leg. But that's all right. It's just a sketch. A little bit of darkness here. And a tiny bit here. What I always want is ways to sketch kind of quickly, because I enjoy the process of sketching. I don't really enjoy the process of drawing. I am definitely a sketcher. I like to see something and capture it in my book. Ooh, there's a little bit of blue in that. And then go on. I don't want to spend 4 hours drawing something. I don't even truthfully want to spend 1 hour sketching one thing. I want to sketch like 7 things in an hour. But that's just me. You might have a different way of doing it. But if you're looking for a way to break down animals, to maybe sketch them without feeling like you are a strong, confident drawer of animals, that might help you out. See them as shapes, not even shapes that you can name, not necessarily rectangles, triangles, squares, circles. See them as shapes that make up the bigger animal, and then pick the shapes that you can work from and build from there. So get one shape down, like I got the face down, and then the next line, the next shape speaks to the first shape. You use the first shape as your reference as you make your way through the animal. I hope that helps. Take care, and I hope you get into your sketchbooks.